At the same time, you need to know which kind of accounts to follow. So follow accounts which inspire you, which motivate you to do better. The kind of content that you consume is what you're technically feeding your brain at the end of the day.
Hey, thank you for clicking on this video. I'm going to be talking to a psychologist about how social media affects mental health. So make sure to watch this video till the end so that you can use some of these tips in your life as well. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and also check out our Instagram page where we post content every day to keep you informed.
Hi, I'm Natasha Khattar and I'm studying to become a clinical psychologist, and we have this initiative on Instagram which is called as Holistically Healthy to accumulate information about mental health and physical health and how to go about approaching your holistic health, combining these two things, and I hope you'll check us out there.
So the first question is that how has social media impacted a way the person sees themselves? So what happens is when I go on the internet, I see various, whether it's different people showing off their skills, which makes me jealous, or even people who look really good, which makes me jealous. So how does one deal with themselves when all of this is going on in social media?
I think you bring a great point here about how our self-perception or self-image changes as we go on the social media and we see people doing all sort of things. Say even during the lockdown, people did not stop bragging about their cooking skills, their painting skills and everything. It's their social media. They're allowed to do everything that they want to do. But at the end of the day, we need to, separate ourselves from how we portray ourselves in a social sphere or in a social media perspective versus what we really are or what our authentic selves is. So if I try to engage too much into social media and I feel like, no, this is my life, this is my identity, I'll probably have some sort of an emotional crisis as to how I'm putting myself out there and what I really am like. Nobody puts up stories about them crying. If I've had a bad day, I'm not going to make a reel or I'm not going to make a video showing around that I'm crying. But everybody puts their stories of their achievements, of what they're doing, if they're doing well, if they're going out. I feel like Snapchat, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of them may have their good points. LinkedIn makes you seem as if you're connecting to people, but I feel like it's only a facade because you're at the end of the day you're also seeing people achieve so much more than you, and you start having this inferiority complex which in turn ruins your, or say at least hampers your mental health and your self-image or how you view yourself.
Alright, but to flip the side on this, do you think that the whole culture of social media that is there, where people show off their skills, show off what they are doing, do you think that is also a contributing factor to the motivation of a person wanting to change themselves for the better? Or do you think it has had a lot more negative effect than a positive effect?
I think I completely agree with you when you said that there can be two sides to this coin, right? Just like it can have negative impact, it can definitely have a positive impact if you use it in the right manner. So I feel like to use social media in the correct manner, you have to decrease your time or at least like have a time set that, okay, this is the only amount of time that I'm going to invest in social media today. If your screen time is a lot, it's not going to help you in any manner, right? At the same time, you need to know which kind of accounts to follow. So follow accounts which inspire you, which motivate you to do better. The kind of content that you consume is what you're technically feeding your brain at the end of the day. So you need to feed yourself the right kind of content.
How has social media impacted interaction and relationships with friends or even family? Because what happens now is you go on Facebook, you see someone's birthday and then you end up wishing them on Facebook. And that is now your reminder for a person's birthday and keeping up with their life. And even in terms of Instagram or Snapchat, you keep up with people through their stories. So how has that impact changed the way a person is or how they interact with other people?
Social media gives us this illusion of connecting while we are actually disconnecting with people in a way. Because if I feel like somebody was close to me, say back in school, and I'm just wishing them on their Facebook wall saying, hey, happy birthday, I'm not really connecting to them. But at the end of the day, I have this satisfaction, oh, that yeah, I've wished the person, I've done my job. But what good is it giving me or what good is it giving to the other person? They're not feeling happy by my wish because I just wrote one sentence to them.
There is an overload of information on social media from various channels, and that overload is also like a collective of the correct information as well as the negative or misinformation that is there. The combination of all of this brings up the anxiety of a person when they see, because say an accident, a major accident has happened, a major terrorist attack has happened, and it just gets all over social media, when you keep reading about the same thing again and again and again, it is bound to make you anxious. How can someone deal with something like that?
I think you brought a really good point here. It's almost impossible for people to, I won't say something like, that just leave all the social media, become a sannyasi. It's not possible in today's world. You feel like you want to stay connected to people, right? But at the same time, again, because we are bombarded with so much of information, and a whole lot of it can be misinformation, and the social media, or generally humanity, mostly thrives on a negative bias, something which has more of a negative connotation to it, that mostly tends to get popped up. There are people who started things like positive news movement or good news movement because they know that the news is majorly consisted of what went wrong in the world. They're not talking about what went right. If you feel like everything impacts your thoughts and your behavior and your mood at the end of the day, right? So you need to decide what sort of content you're consuming, whether you should be following that page if you see that there's a lot of misinformation that page or that person is spreading. If you don't want to unfollow them, fine, mute them. Restrict your engagement with that account just so that you are not, exposed to that sort of negative things, or it's not triggering you. And I think for anybody who's posting such kind of content, it's important that you just put a small trigger warning. There's no harm in just saying, trigger warning, say something like sexual abuse, or no doubt you're making the public aware, but at the same time that could be some sensitive information which could hurt the other party, so you can just add in a trigger warning.
I'm sure there would be some research, but in your knowledge, is there any research that you are aware of which can relate the sort of information that a human is attracted towards? Like you said in between, that negative information is something that a human being is more prone to registering, if I'm not wrong.
I think, generally how human biases and cognitive distortion works is we tend to say, if you're talking about certain cognitive distortions, we tend to, there's something called as minimizing or maximizing. So we minimize the positive aspects of things. So suppose if I meet you and I say, hey Rohit, I had this project and this went well. There was this one thing which did not go well. What our brain tends to do is, because it focuses so much on the negative information, it'll try to highlight one negative aspect of it rather than focusing on all the positive aspects. So you start feeling like, oh, I'm incompetent, I'm such a loser, or the world has everything negative going on around it. It's just what sort of information easily latches onto.
I want you to elaborate a little more on what can a person do to keep themselves away from the anxiousness that comes with social media and all the social media interactions that happen, whether it's all the information that you're getting or even interacting with a friend who you haven't interacted with, because that again has a lot of anxiety related to it. So what can a person do to lower them?
Social media is a major contributing factor to it, but even if you're just connecting to a friend and who's just talking or gloating about their achievements while you are feeling that you're not doing so well at a point of time, it's important to set some sort of boundaries even within friendships or even say on social media. So just for your personal well-being, you need to say that, okay, no is a complete sentence. So you can just say that, no, I don't want to consume such kind of content from you, or I don't want to listen to such information when I'm not in a good space in my life right now. It's important to keep in check the kind of content that you're consuming, because that's what your brain is thriving on at the end of the day, right? It's just like for some minutes of entertainment or a dopamine rush, you're actually feeding your brain a lot of negative content.
Okay, just to add on to that, as a last question on social media, there's a lot of funny content that is out there which is derogatory in nature, demeans a person, demeans a culture, demeans a caste, etc. Now, is it just that as humans are we developed now that we can't take so much negativity, or is it just that because of the amount of conversation that has increased around this topic and that is why people are becoming more and more aware of not doing it, or is it just a human tendency to get offended on these things?
I'm honestly not sure when it comes to this, that whether our tolerance has decreased over the years, or is it just that we've become more aware of how these things impact us. Say even body shaming, probably 10 years back, or if we ask our parents, they probably weren't as aware of it. If somebody or some auntie of theirs would tell them, oh, this doesn't look so good about you or something like that, they'll probably accept it and they'll be okay with it and they'll have it in their head all throughout. Whereas our generation is more aware. I don't know whether it's, say, decrease in tolerance, and I'm glad if it's on such terms, if there is a decrease in people's tolerance nowadays, because we are bringing up important conversations like, that it's not okay to body shame somebody. It's not okay to comment on something which the person cannot change, right? So again, I'm not very sure about what exactly it is, but I hope that it's heading in the right direction.
I hope this discussion was very helpful for you and you are able to use these values in your life. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and make sure you visit our Instagram page to check out our content.